I'm often running into people who act like science can explain everything and all the stuff that makes us inspired and brings wonder. How far this generation has wandered from earlier scientists.
There's no need to have a personal understanding of life anymore, because scientists have already solved that problem.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect. But tell me, in your candid opinion, Miss Chloe, why did Albert Einstein say Dostoevsky gave him more than any scientist?
The what?
Let's take a look at some quotes from Albert Einstein and ask ourselves if he would seem out of place among scientists today. Perhaps we have gone backwards, not forwards over time. Perhaps we may even learn something profound, maybe existential even from Albert Einstein. Before we dive right into these existential morsels from Albert Einstein, I have a couple disclaimers to make. In my opinion, he was not an existential hero, mainly because he sounds a lot like a fatalist to me. Also, people might wonder how I can put the microphone up to his mouth for some topics, but not others. And to this I say, Albert Einstein is looked to as the epitome of scientific personality, and if someone in that regard is saying science is subject to and under the authority of things like personal interpretation, meaning, morality, then it undermines the views of everyone who says science is the end-all be-all. It would be like seeing a pamphlet published by George Washington saying that all Americans should align under the authority of the King of England. In such a case, it doesn't mean you have to share his view, but if you consider George Washington to be your understanding of what it means to be an American, then you should listen up. There's also the chance in all this, I wager, that we will learn a thing or two about life in the process. Can science explain to us all aspects of everything? Should we look to it that way? Albert Einstein doesn't seem to think that mystery is just a place that science hasn't arrived yet to wipe out personal interpretations and superstition. He says the opposite. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Whoever does not know it and can no longer wonder, no longer marvel, is as good as dead, and his eyes are dimmed. Someone who dwells on the power of the beautiful experience of the mysterious is hardly presenting us with a detailed systematic explanation for everything, like other people did. Hegel presented a philosophy he called the system that he presented as a total life explanation for everything. He allowed that some slight corrections may be needed later, but that it was a comprehensive explanation of everything. For Hegel, and many scientists today, anything you have yet to learn from life has been answered by a philosopher in a tower somewhere. There isn't any meaningful discovery to be made left, because it has been made by someone else who understands your life better than even you do. Einstein doesn't think this is false, he thinks it makes you dead and destroys your outlook. Not only did Einstein think science was limited in what it could address, he thought we should watch out for people using science to enforce their will over everyone else's lives. He said, we should be on our guard not to overestimate science and scientific methods when it is a question of human problems, and we should not assume that experts are the only ones who have a right to express themselves on questions affecting the organization of society. It's hard to picture Einstein signing off on claims of a global medical emergency that justified seizing Orwellian control over people, or to hear the person who wrote these words saying to trust the science. Also, may I add that I thought trust was a personal decision and not something that could be imposed by the herd. If I were a professional scientist aiming to get some kind of renown from scientists of the world, I would feel a lot of pressure to say that there are no limits to what science can do, that anthropology and sociology can explain meaning to us, that all our attempts to understand our own lives are actually just burps and process that has already been achieved by a few people in lab coats. But Einstein pushes back on all that. He says, while it is true that science, to the extent of its grasp of causative connections, may reach important conclusions as to the compatibility and incompatibility of goals and evaluations, the independent and fundamental definitions regarding goals and values remain beyond science's reach. The note I hear him playing here is a lot like Descartes. Descartes is considered by a lot of people to be the father of modern philosophy because he dared to ask which of the qualifications we use as truth could be corrupted and found that most or all of them could. For Descartes, sense impressions are potentially deceptive and always limited. Einstein says the sense experiences are the given subject matter, but the theory that shall interpret them is man-made. When I was a kid, this was presented to me as dangerous postmodernism. I thought it wasn't practical to suppose the entire world was a lie. I didn't realize how much a society or culture could wrap explanations around what was actually happening, and I didn't see how lazy or passive it was to reach for the easiest explanation. Maybe what I needed was Albert Einstein to come along and say, "Son, the sense experiences you experience are not going to interpret themselves for you." In some ways, it is like the gangsters that tried to persuade a man that he is just as well off if his wife sees what a mess he is in and divorces him. And then the man responds and tells the gangsters that there's nothing they can say that is going to make him stop loving his wife.
There's nothing that you're gonna say that's gonna make me forget that I love my wife, is there?
Such a man has not found a truth built on tenuous empirical observations, but inwardly, by deciding to commit to something, in this case his marriage. To be sure, the doctrine of a personal God interfering with natural events could never be refuted, in the real sense, by science, for this doctrine can always take refuge in those domains in which scientific knowledge has not yet been able to set foot. Einstein is clearly not so comfortable with God lifting a finger to get involved with the people down here on the earth, where existing people are constantly asking to be healed and find help. To Einstein, those people are just asking to be interfered with. So while that might not be the voice of compassion, Einstein also doesn't think that science can raise a meaningful objection to those who ask God to hear and help them. He says that it is because, again, science is limited. I can't picture the people cheering science on in social media ever agreeing with this statement. That is why I began by telling you that the fate of the human race was more than ever dependent on its moral strength today. Moral strength sounds like some kind of subjective, judgy thing to people today. As an existential guy, I like morals and every subjective aspect of them, but consider how unscientific morals are. What kind of sensors do you detect morals with? With a microscope or an astrolabe? What would the units of measurement be for morals? Could you buy 6 feet of morals? Or a metric ton of morals? Are morals reproducible? If a moral person has kids, does that mean the kids are necessarily going to be moral themselves? Could any laboratory of parenting produce entirely consistent behavioral results in children? Or could any social experiment of government succeed in guaranteeing that their policies will achieve a certain outcome? For Einstein, morals are not admissible from a scientific point of view because morals are higher than science. They are more personal. They are relevant on an individual basis in a way that a science book could never be for you. They are life-giving. We already looked at how Einstein compared Dostoevsky, a conservative evangelical existentialist, to all of science. He's also recorded to have said, "I am reading Dostoevsky, the brothers Karamazov. It's the most wonderful thing I've ever laid my eyes on. I am enthralled with the brothers Karamazov." Seeming to say that a person who understood what life meant for himself personally had a higher and better perspective than all of science ever did. But did Einstein think science could provide us with an understanding of what meaning is, or how to find it, or maybe even provide it for us? If it could, that would seem really great. We could just go to the meaning factory and push a button, and at the end of the conveyor belt, we can pick up our meaning and ingest it into our lives somehow. He says, what is the meaning of human life, or, for that matter, of the life of any creature? To know an answer to this question means to be religious. What we hear from Einstein about meaning kind of sounds like what Kierkegaard says about taking a leap of faith into the religious sphere of existence. Except, we are not hearing this from someone in the religious field. It's coming from the biggest, most famous scientist of all time. What did Einstein think about free will? Okay, here's the one way we are going to cover in this video where Einstein was like the other scientists out there. It is true that Einstein took a fatalistic view of the universe. He said, a man's actions are determined by necessity, external and internal, so that in God's eyes he cannot be responsible any more than an inanimate object is responsible for the motions it undergoes. This is of course not existential, because if you are going to have meaning in your life that you are personally aware of, then you can't be hiding your decisions from yourself. The less your identity becomes clear to you, the less you have an identity. And if what identity you do have is really just the sum of your influences, and we are all just products of our circumstances, then there are no true individuals, only things that are extensions of other things. And that is exactly what people like to say to themselves when they are ashamed of their choices and go chasing after philosophy to hide the downsides if they're thinking from themselves. To existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre, hiding the truth from yourself and hiding your decisions from yourself are examples of bad faith. And for this reason, I'm not ready to call Einstein an existential hero. In this respect, he was just drifting with all the other scientists I hear out there these days. Did Einstein think humans are more valuable as a collective or as individuals? This is a pivotal question, because if life is a collective, if the scientific project carried out by researchers who are reproducing each other's results and the value of an undertaking is a simple function of what the peer review says about it, then individuals are just pawns of a top-down process that they themselves are not in control of and are aliens to. But Einstein sees life as something that plays out on an individual level. He says, "Let every man be respected as an individual." I read him here as saying, "I couldn't do any better than to agree with those ancient Greeks that a man ought to know thyself." Or perhaps he would embrace Judge Wilhelm's call to choose yourself. Albert Einstein compared relativity to what it is like experiencing love. He wasn't so concerned about people mistaking the adrenaline and chemicals in your body as an experience that makes the time feel true. For Einstein, two separate observers could have very different experiences that could, for themselves, be true. This to me seems like taking a risk in order to establish that the truth is ultimately something that has to be true at the individual level. And even though Einstein himself was no existential hero, he did read existentialists, and he saw existential truth as not only co-equal to scientific truth, but higher than scientific truth. Do you think scientists today would sign off on Einstein's statements here? Do you think people today would be more authentic to adopt them? Please subscribe and put your answers in the comments below. I do respond to comments, and I value your feedback. Thanks.